This is the intersection of Liberty and Nassau Street in the financial district of New York. Thousands of tourists and white-collar criminals walk down these streets every single day, but what a lot of them don't realize is that this rather ordinary-looking block sits atop just over 5% of all of the gold in the world. If I were to drill 80 feet or 24 meters straight into the earth on this sidewalk, I would wind up here, the gold vault of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, responsible for guarding 6,190 tons of gold, the largest accumulation of gold in the world. And then shortly thereafter, I would wind up here, jail, because it turns out that it is not actually legal to tunnel into the basement of a federal bank. But this giant pile of gold underneath Manhattan is worth more than you might think. This gold needs to be here in order for the world economy to function. Why? Well, it's a bit of a long story. Before we can understand why the US government buried approximately 2 Jeff Bezos' worth of solid gold 80 feet under a Dunkin' Donuts, we need to understand how the Federal Reserve actually works. Because the Federal Reserve is one of those phrases that you probably recognize, either from the top of the dollar bill or from that speech your uncle gave at Thanksgiving where he tried to blame his sports gambling debt on the federal government. But the Fed is a complicated institution and not one that most Americans actually understand. So let's break it down. Back in the early 1900s,
when they owe money to people, chat, why don't the countries just go like, bro, give us the gold in the basement?
1800s, banks did not work. They were private businesses, so if one of them went belly up, everyone just lost their money. But it wouldn't stop there, because then everyone at the bank across the street would say, uh-oh, or egad, or whatever it was that people said back then, and take all of their money out of that bank. But since banks aren't designed to have enough money to pay out every single account all at once, that would kill that bank, and all of those people would lose their money. And that would keep happening to bank after bank until the whole economy collapsed, or one of the miscellaneous bearded guys that had more money than God decided to personally pour millions of dollars of their own savings into one of the banks to stop it from exploding. Now, I'm no doctor, but I'm pretty sure this is not how an economy is supposed to work. And sure enough, the US government thought so too. So they created the US Federal Reserve, which would basically act as a bank for banks. If there was a panic and everyone started taking their money out of a bank, that bank would borrow money from the Fed to pay everyone without going bust. There would be 12 central banks to serve different regions of the country, distributed in a way that totally makes sense, which of course means putting 2 of them in Missouri. And
why don't they just have enough money? Why don't they just have enough money? Just have enough money. If 10 people give you $10, you have $100. Flat out. Boom.
Anyway, blah blah blah, fast forward a few years, America's looking at the numbers and has decided that it's now the best country. So they pitched an idea. What if America's central bank, the best central bank, was now a bank for other...
Oh, they loan. Oh, okay. So when they ask me for my money, right? Because I had to pay my taxes or whatever, right? Can I say, well, I loaned it. I loaned it to Michelle. She's buying a new car. I lend her some money. So if when I do it, it's bad. When they do it, no problem.
Other countries as central banks. And the other country said, so true, USA #1, and sent their gold to New York. So all of that gold under Manhattan, well, the vast majority of it actually belongs to the central banks of foreign nations, primarily the Deutsche Bundesbank, Banca d'Italia, and the Nederlandsche Bank. Now, if you're watching this from one of those countries, you might be wondering why the hell your government handed over all their gold to the most nukeable city on Earth instead of looking after it themselves, and that's primarily for 2 reasons. The first is the New York Fed's insane levels of security, which we'll get to in a second, but the second, weirdly, is convenience. Having all of the government-owned gold for all these different countries in one place makes trading it really easy. If Germany needs to send the Netherlands several $1 million as a birthday present, they can just move the gold from one shelf to another without it ever leaving the vault. But since such a huge and sensitive part of the world's economy is literally happening in this vault, it needs to be one of the most secure and discreet buildings in the world. So let's talk about how the vault actually operates. Gold enters the vault here, in the Federal Reserve Bank building. It's a fairly unassuming office building, 22 stories of limestone and middle-aged accountants, but on its western end is an elevator that descends 80 feet or 24 meters into the earth beneath the city's power lines, gas pipes, and subway tunnels. This is about as deep as you can actually dig in this part of Manhattan, because the island's bedrock is located only 7 feet deeper and is structurally necessary to support the weight of this vault. The vault itself is 3 stories, comprising the bank's basement levels C, D, and E. The top level designed to hold securities, the second for storing currency, and the deepest level dedicated to the vault's gold, all surrounded by layers of steel walls and 8 to 10 feet of reinforced concrete. Now, I know what you're thinking. I'll just walk through the front door. Checkmate the Federal Reserve, but don't be so sure. The single entrance to the vault that all gold personnel and overconfident YouTube viewers need to access is this: a 90-ton solid steel cylinder that rotates to reveal a passageway into the vault when opened and forms a complete hermetic seal with its frame when closed. Once the gold enters the vault, it's not only monitored by cameras and motion sensors, but it needs to be accompanied at all times by a team of 3, 2 members of the gold vault staff and 1 of the Fed's internal auditors. All of the doors inside the vault need all 3 of these people present to open them, so if your heist plan involves security, you'd better hope that you have more than 1 friend and that at least one of those friends is a federal auditor. Once in the vault, the gold is locked behind 2 more combination locks and 1 more padlock in one of 122 different compartments. Each of these compartments holds gold for a different country's central bank, but none of the vault staff actually—
Chad, there has to be like a critical amount at which nobody attempts a heist anymore, right? I think these measures of security don't make sense anymore because, like, even if you were to be like a whole army of people with all the right tools, you'd still be missing some tool. Like, brother, it doesn't make sense anymore.
Know which one is which.
There's a critical amount at which people stop doing it.
One country wants to pay another
like
country,
piracy in Somalia.
Move gold from one compartment to another without tipping off the vault staff. That,
they found the critical point at which people don't do it anymore.
Taylor Swift from the United States, and that's what 5% of the world's gold is doing underneath Manhattan. It probably doesn't concern you unless you run a foreign country central bank, and if you run a foreign country central bank, I really hope you're not spending your time watching Half Is Interesting.
Well, that was a good video though.
Now,
I know
you probably clicked on this video so that you can devise an elaborate plan to rob this gold vault.
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
Exorbitantly expensive habit of ordering an $8 coffee every single morning. But guess what? I have a better solution, and it's our sponsor, Trade Coffee. Trade partners with hundreds of the best indie roasters in the country to deliver fresh, delicious coffee beans right to your door. And better yet, they work with you to match you.
Here's my take of the day. Coffee is just like wine and fucking whatever the fuck other like art. It's just kind of all dog shit. Just buy dog shit. Just buy dog shit. Buy garbage. You can barely tell the difference between anything, okay? Nobody cares. Buy garbage, okay? Boom. Boom. Chat, was that a good take? Okay, I'm not gonna do what chat today. I'm not gonna do it.
In